Is it finally Josh Allen's time to win MVP? Or will Jordan Love steal it? We're discussing MVP candidates and NFL awards on today's edition of Locked On NFL.
You are Locked On NFL, your daily NFL podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, football fans, to another edition of Locked On NFL. I am one of your hosts, Tyler Rowland, local expert from Locked On Titans, here with my co-host, Alex Clancy, local expert from Locked On Cardinals. Got a great show for you guys today. We're going to talk MVP candidates, offensive and defensive player of the year candidates, and we'll tell you which rookie QB we think will win Rookie of the Year. Before we get into all of that, do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Also, thank you for making Locked On NFL your first listen each and every day. Remember, Monday through Friday, NFL content all year round, always for free. Make sure that you get subscribed, stay subscribed. Again, it's your team every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. But with that being said, Alex, we're talking MVP here, and I had to lead off with Josh Allen. I mean, he's been deserving, you would think, with the amount of touchdowns and the amount of production that he's had, the success generally of the Buffalo Bills, that he may have lucked himself into an MVP just naturally over the last few years, but it hasn't happened. This year, with Stephon Diggs gone, I would argue that Josh Allen may get more credit than he's ever got before because Diggs is now gone. People will say, oh, he lost his number one wide receiver, his star wide receiver, and he still, played excellent, led the NFL in this and that. So I feel like Josh Allen is set up perfectly to finally get his MVP just based on the narrative around the Bills. Everybody's worried about him. They got all these injuries. So I feel like this is the year for Josh Allen, and I don't want to cast, doom on him. But as a guy who does run the ball, eventually he's going to get older and he's going to have to run the ball less. And he's going to have to tone down that part of his game to keep himself healthy and going as he gets, closer to his 30s and into his 30s. Do you think that this is maybe the last best shot for Josh Allen to finally win his MVP?
I think it's the opposite of that, honestly. I think that this is a year where they're going to feature James Cook. They're going to feature the tight ends, and this is going to be a much more controlled Josh Allen. Because what we've seen is the popcorn has been amazing to eat for the first 10 weeks of every year. And then it gets cold, and you're not able to hug it down the field. And yes, Stephon Diggs being gone is a thing, but just like when people overlook Patrick Mahomes because he doesn't have that star receiver alongside Travis Kelce, like, if it's not sexy, you don't get as much credit. Like, we said this a couple years ago before Lamar Jackson got hurt in the middle of the year. He was having an MVP year, but it wasn't as flashy. It wasn't the numbers. He won it last year because they won a lot of games. He's, his passing game is starting to really emerge in, his sixth year. But, like, for me, Tyler, I feel like it's already passed for him. He had that window where the young guys weren't there yet. It was him, Patrick Mahomes, and Joe Burrow. That was it. But that's been so fleeting. And now I think C.J. Stroud has a better chance of winning MVP than Josh Allen does in 2024. It's not because he's going to do anything different. It's because we've seen it. It's Phil Mickelson before he won a Masters. It's okay, it's great, but it's never great enough. And I feel like we're at that point now where there's so many other names that have a better chance of being fresh and new to win the MVP. So that's why I kind of think it's the opposite, where I think his time is come and gone. He's going to have to do something incredible to win the MVP this year.
Right, and obviously you could make the argument that not having Stephon Diggs, while helpful to the narrative of his personal value, could make him play worse as well, and that doesn't help. Well, if you're not sold on Josh Allen, which I hear, who is your official prediction for MVP? Alex Clancy.
Patrick Mahomes. And listen, it's not because he's the best player. It's, for those who've watched Locked On NFL Thursday, this is going to our fourth season. I always say it's Patrick Mahomes until it's not. This is different, because this is a three-peat at stake. Okay, this is uncharted territory in the NFL. Travis Kelce isn't getting any younger. They've got a lot of young receivers. There's a lot of unknown. Their defense is fine. The NFC West is going to be one of the weakest it's been. You've got a rookie quarterback in Denver who's named Bo Nix was named starting quarterback. We don't know what the hell is going with Vegas. It could be a down year for the Chargers. Like, this is one where they could win 14 games, plant the flag, win the Super Bowl. And if for that to happen, Patrick Mahomes is going to have to coasting, quote unquote, is like that. He's got that sixth gear where it's like, okay,
Right.
let's see how special you truly can be when everybody expects you to be special. So I think for him, like that's for me, it's like, I don't trust anybody else. There's zero other quarterback that you 100% inherently trust to do it every week like you do Patrick Mahomes.
Okay. I get that. And I just got to say, if Patrick Mahomes wins the MVP in three-peats, he is the second best quarterback of all time. No doubt about it. Guaranteed. And some people probably already feel like he is. I still give Montana the edge, but man, there would be absolutely talk about planting your flag. That is planting your flag right behind Tom Brady with your eyes set. For me, my official MVP prediction, and it's funny because a lot of my haters, I guess, for Locked On Titans like to claim I'm a Packers fan because my dad is, but this is not going to help me beat those allegations. I'm going with Jordan Love. I think Jordan Love wins MVP. All right, so it's a perfect combination here of the media loves the Packers. They adore the Packers franchise. You can trust Packers quarterbacks to take care of you if you have a take about them. So people naturally like the Packers and want to prop up the Packers. Matt LaFleur is a guy who's liked by the media and is respected by the media. People think he's a good coach. They have a lot of good weapons. They have a young roster, and that works perfect for him because he doesn't have like one true superstar receiver and be like, hey, yeah, he had a good year, but he's got this guy he's throwing to all the time that makes it easier. No, this is a young team, and he's going to ball out. And if the Packers win the NFC North over the Lions and they go, 13-4, 12-5, Jordan Love is my official MVP prediction.
That's good. I dig it. And it's interesting, the stability's there. And there's stability is kind of fleeting, it seems, in Cincinnati. There's stability in Baltimore, but Lamar Jackson's won it a couple times in the last couple of years.
They have Derrick Henry now, too, and I think they're going to run the ball for us, so that kind of hurts Lamar.
That's true.
From that angle.
And the functionality and stability in Buffalo is gone. Like everything that people are questioning about Buffalo wasn't there before. Dark horse for me, Tyler, if he plays 17 games and they make the playoffs, Aaron Rodgers is going to be able to put a whole fist up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
That's the dark horse where it's like, listen, if he plays 17 weeks, they're gonna win the AFC East. Like their defense is there. They've got the offensive skill position players. Like, listen, if you tell me that Aaron Rodgers plays 17 weeks, I would pick them to win the division. I just don't think that one of those things, there's something wrong in East Rutherford also. Okay, like
right.
But you give me Garrett Wilson, you give me Breece Hall, you give me that defense, an improved offensive line, and Aaron Rodgers healthy. I'm taking Aaron Rodgers over Josh Allen, Tua, and Drake May, or whoever the hell it is in New England. I'm still taking Aaron Rodgers. It's Aaron Rodgers till it's not in that sense. I take Aaron Rodgers to win one game over all three of those other guys. So he is more of a dark horse though, because I think something's just going to go wrong in New Jersey, like in with the Jets, like it always does.
It seems like it always does.
Do you have a dark horse before we move on to the offensive and defensive rookies of the year, or defensive players of the year?
I guess I don't know if this would be considered a dark horse per se, but I think some of the similar things with Jordan Love, Anthony Richardson. People love Anthony Richardson. There is a rush to crown Anthony Richardson. I don't think that he's going to have a good enough season, but with his rushing ability and how young he is and coming off the injury last year, if the Colts were, to go 11-6, 12-5 and win that division with Anthony Richardson putting up 40 plus touchdowns, combined, I think that would be an interesting case. But Alex, there's a reason you're a professional here. Speaking of Garrett Wilson, we're talking offensive player of the year next. I might have a connection there, and division winners next week on Thursday. Alex and I will be doing our Super Bowl prediction and division winners and all that. So make sure that you don't miss that. But let's talk offensive player of the year and defensive player of the year. Before we do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Look, I love going to live events during the summer, live music, outdoor theaters, all kinds of stuff. That it's always a great time to go check out that kind of stuff during the summertime. And if you want to make sure that you're getting the best deal on those tickets, you got to check out Game Time. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out all the fluff to show you only the incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Game Time also has a 50% off Labor Day offer for Diamondbacks and Dodgers if you're in Alex's neighborhood of the United States. They got the best features on Game Time as well. All-in prices if you toggle on the feature, which you need to toggle on the feature. You got a view from your seat so you know what you're going to see when you sit down. Make sure that you go to Game Time right now. Download the app and create an account using code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, Alex, we're going to continue our awards prediction episode of Locked On NFL. We talked about MVP. I went with Jordan Love for my official prediction. Alex went with Patrick Mahomes, the standard. Love hearing that. So with that being said, though, we got to move into the offensive and defensive players of the year. Before we do want to thank you guys again for making Locked On NFL your first listen. As for your second listen, you know what time of year it is, folks. You guys need to check out Locked On Fantasy Football. All right, you're going to get daily insights, the best fantasy draft strategies, so you can win your fantasy league this season. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So I'm going to continue the segue. You talked about Aaron Rodgers being a dark horse for MVP if things truly go right. I think people love a comeback story just as much as they love tearing people down. And Aaron Rodgers has gotten the tear down in terms of, a lot of people in the media disliking him, the conversations about him, all the off-the-field stuff, things outside of football that people talk about with Rodgers. But I do like that. But I will say this. If things do go well for the New York Jets, I think that Garrett Wilson wins Offensive Player of the Year. Garrett Wilson is, I think, a top 10 talented wide receiver in the NFL, but he's had just terrible situations since he came into the league at quarterback, whether it be Zach Wilson or all these guys that they're flying through off the bench after Rodgers got hurt. Like, it has been tumultuous, to say the least. As a guy who covers the Cardinals, you know what Larry Fitzgerald went through at certain times during his career with the Cardinals and the, mass collection of quarterbacks that he went through. Garrett Wilson is going through a similar ordeal. And I think that if Rodgers were just to stay healthy for the year, Garrett Wilson is going to go insane, like 1,700 yards, 15 touchdowns. Like, I really think he has that kind of talent. So I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say Garrett Wilson for Offensive Player of the Year. Alex, go ahead and give me your OPOY and then lead us into your DPOY.
It's funny because I had another Jet in mind in Breece Hall, but it's not going to be him. It's going to be Bijan Robinson. This is the year.
Okay. I don't think that's bad at all. I like that a lot.
Yeah. So let's the elephant in the big elephant in the room, whatever, 800 pounds. I don't even know what it is. It doesn't matter. Christian McCaffrey, can he do it again? Okay. Every year, I'm going to go to fantasy football here. I'm sure Vinny Iyer from Locked On Fantasy and Michelle Maju could attest to this. Every year, when the bona fide, no doubt about it, number one overall pick is set and forget, something goes wrong. Every time, it doesn't matter. It was Justin Jefferson, it was Adrian Peterson, it was Derek. It didn't matter what it was. Every year, something went wrong. This is the year that Christian McCaffrey regresses. Everything's set up for it. So who's going to take that mantle? Bijan Robinson now has an offense where they're going to overcompensate the hell out of his touches from what he didn't get last year. Okay. Yep. They've got a solid backup in Tyler Algier, so Bijan Robinson will be able to stay, more poised and ready to score more touches because they've got a backup they can give the ball to give him a blow. Okay.
Yep.
Kirk Cousins is very running back friendly. He made Dalvin Cook's career. Okay. And on top of all of that, they've got so many great outside skill position players that it'll make his job easier with lighter boxes and not just a Derrick
and a great offensive line.
Yeah. They've got everything set up for him to just explode this year. So I think it's going to be him.
And Zach Robinson, offensive coordinator, comes from the Rams. And we've seen what the Rams have been able to do with different running backs, Kieran Williams and Cam Akers, all the way to Todd Gurley. You know what I mean? So I think I'm with you. In secret, I don't think that any of the people who play my fantasy league are listening to this. I surely hope they're not. I am taking Bijan Robinson with the third pick. It's a keeper league. Nobody cares. But I'm just saying, I agree. I love Bijan Robinson. I'm in on that train this year. for Defensive Player of the Year? You're up first.
So you would think at this time it's time for Micah Parsons to kind of be the guy.
Yep.
We said this last year. We said as a dark horse to win defense like MVP. Like we had conversations about him before. Okay, but there's one guy for me. It stinks because their team isn't very good. But this could be a Max Crosby year.
Max Crosby. And
the reason why is Christian Wilkins. He's finally has a guy that needs more double teams than him. Max Crosby is Nick Bosa without the recognition.
Yep.
Like I don't and Nick Bosa has arguably the easiest edge rushing job in the history of in football because of all the guys that he has behind him. Okay. So when you look at Max Crosby, it's the story. It's not Myles Garrett. And it's somebody who has just been consistently terrorizing the NFC West or the AFC West and the rest of the NFL for years now. And it's time that he gets his flowers.
Yep. And I also think that the Chiefs, with their offensive tackle situation, he could rack up some sacks there. I mean, right now they're playing Kingsley Suamatai at left tackle, who's a rookie. So I think that Max Crosby could have his way in some difficult, highly publicized matchups. And that helps you too when you're on a national stage, like playing the Chiefs. Every game that the Chiefs play, people are paying attention to, whether it's 1 o'clock, 8 o'clock, doesn't matter. So that's, basically a primetime game every time you play Kansas City. That'll help him. I want to throw one other name out there because actually Max Crosby was going to be my pick too. So I'm with you on Max Crosby. Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that. Right. Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So I am going to go with a different position. I'm going to go with cornerback. Okay. Oh. And I'm going to stick with the theme here of the media market. Sauce Gardner.
Okay.
All right. To me, it's kind of confirming people's biases because Sauce Gardner is so well regarded. I mean, literally his rookie year, he made All-Pro. So like people like Sauce Gardner. They want to be right about everybody's like, yeah, I was right about Sauce Gardner. He's this great. He's this good. So I think that, again, if the Jets have a good year, because of how popular they will be as a team, how much attention they'll get as a team if they're good. I think that if Sauce Gardner were to completely lock down, like Darrelle Revis used to do, just completely lock down, either they never throw at him and he's just spectacular all year, or they do throw at him and he gets 4 or 5 interceptions and is otherworldly. You know what I mean? Like, I think if there is going to be a non-pass rusher to win it, it'll be Sauce Gardner this year if the Jets are good. Like, I just think that we're on base. It's kind of your idea, but I think that it's a good idea that if the Jets are just good, they're going to get so much pop. You know what I mean? Because of just all the lightning rods on the team. So I just want to throw Sauce Gardner in there.
Yeah, for sure. And that's interesting because they play in the AFC East. They have to play Miami twice. They have to play Buffalo twice. He's going to earn it.
Yep.
And you are not going to you're not going to shy away. Either he's going to cut it or he won't. That's a fascinating pick. Another one that I'll just throw out there before we pivot here to offensive and defensive rookies of the year. Will Anderson, he did it with such ease last year. Yep. He was an NFL player right away. And then they've added pieces ahead of him. Like, that defense is going to be scary. Derek Stingley's already, and Jalen Petrie have already flashed during the preseason. Jalen Petrie had the pick 6 that I could have walked in from Daniel Jones, but still like right place, right time. Derek Stingley also. Will Anderson, it's just effortless, and you've got D'Amico Ryans there. Like, it's just something that makes too much sense where he could leapfrog Micah Parsons at this point, especially with the roster construction being such a nightmare over in Dallas. So either way, it's going to be a hell of an NFL season on both sides of the ball. So many young players coming ready to play so much more quickly than we've seen in years past. It's really going to be fascinating. Now, with that, out of the rookie group, offensive rookie of the year, defensive rookie of the year, we will unpack that, a little home cooking from me. That's called a tease here. Locked on NFL Thursday. This episode of Locked on NFL Thursday is brought to you by FanDuel. You've heard a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Well, we've got something a little different for you, man. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers, you bet $5, you get 3 weeks of a free trial of the NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. If you haven't seen it yet, it's worth it. Trust me. Then with the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Just visit FanDuel.com. YouTube.com/LockedOn to download America's #1 sportsbook. He is Tyler Rowland at Tic Tac Titans on Twitter, Locked On Titans, Alex Clancy, Locked On Cardinals at Clancy's Corner _. Thanks for making Locked On NFL your first listen each and every day, free wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. So, rookies. Okay. Usually, offensive rookie of the year goes to a quarterback. If you can see on the overlay, Tyler said rookie quarterback that performs best. That's kind of a self-fulfilling
reality,
thing there.
Well, there are so many young quarterbacks this year. Like, it's just one of them is going to play well.
Yeah, and we're starting to see, after J.J. McCarthy threw a terrible interception, it's like, and then he's out for the year. It's like, oh, man, I thought he was going to be the guy. It's like, wow, he looks way more comfortable than I thought he was going to. And then now you're seeing that out of Bo Nix. You're wondering if, but for me, I think that I'm going with best situation. And the best situation happens to be that of a wide receiver wearing number 18 for the Arizona Cardinals, who went number 4 overall. So the reason why I'm saying this is, and I say this on Locked On Cardinals a lot, especially in the ramp up to the draft process, is he doesn't have any pressure on him to produce. He's the third option to start the season behind James Conner and Trey McBride. Okay, so with that cocoon that he has around him and so many different players with Michael Wilson and Greg Dortch, and they got Trey Benson there and Kyler Murray's legs, etc., he can just be him. He's not going to have bracketed coverage because if you defend the Cardinals with a light box, it's going to be James Conner and Trey Benson for the entire game. So you're going to have to kind of keep the defense on it. It's not going to be bracketed coverage. He may get the number 1 corner from the opposing team, but the dude looks special. He's going to be special. It's going to be a Justin Jefferson rookie year for him. And I feel like getting something new once in a while where it's not just a quarterback, I think could bear fruits, especially if the Cardinals are going to put up, 25, 27 points a game.
Yeah, that would be. And Kyler Murray's a good enough quarterback to support a season like that. Like, if they had a good connection, that would we've seen with DeAndre Hopkins, the big seasons are possible. So, for me, I'm not going to try to get too fancy here. I got to go with Caleb Williams. I mean, he was doing that off-schedule playmaking stuff in the week 2 preseason game. He has great wide receivers. He's got a decent offensive line. He's got a new offensive coordinator in there, and Shane Waldron, who helped Geno Smith. Like, I just think that people want Caleb Williams to be great. And remember, all of these awards are voted on by the media. And media loves stories. Media loves narratives. You know what I mean? So I just think if Caleb Williams is even decent, he's the obvious favorite to win it. But I got to say, I think Jayden Daniels could put up a better statistical season. Like, I think that he could put up better numbers because he's going to run the ball more. You know what I mean? And his offensive line is a little bit worse. So he's going to have to make certain things happen and scramble with his legs. So I think just with the scrambling ability that Jayden Daniels has a good shot to do it. But I gotta be safe and go with Caleb Williams for Defensive Rookie of the Year. You got your home cooking in. Now I got to get mine. Now, anybody who follows me or my content at Locked On Titans knows that I was not a fan of the Devondre Sweat draft pick for the Titans. I think that is understating it, quite honestly. All right. But I was not a fan of the pick. Well, the reality is Devondre Sweat has been incredible since training camp started. He is constantly making plays in the backfield against the first team offense. He didn't have a great showing in his one preseason game, but he was really good in joint practices against the Seattle Seahawks. He's immediately a starter. Devondre Sweat has a Shaquille O'Neal type vibe around him, to where he's like larger than life. They asked him at a press conference, are you disappointed that you don't get to play next to Jeffrey Simmons? And he said, nah, man, I'm T Sweat. It's like, what do you mean? I'm the star here. Like, no, he gets to play next to me. And as a rookie, that's an interesting way to carry yourself. So if his personality shines like I think it can, he's going to be a star on all the clips on Good Morning Football and all of that. His plays are going to be very obvious because of his size and the way that he's going to work on the interior defensive line. Like, it's going to be obvious when Devondre Sweat bullies somebody. So I'm going to make a big critical mistake here and buy into the camp hype after not believing in the guy. But everything that we've seen from him so far in training camp, T'Vondre Sweat looks like a defensive rookie of the year candidate, and it's usually someone on the defensive line. So I'll give a little home cooking to match yours and say T'Vondre
Yeah,
Sweat.
it's interesting. It's interesting you say that because I was kind of go with his counterpart at Texas. But because
Byron
like
Murphy.
if you have a defensive tackle, it's tougher to quantify. Like Jalen Carter had a very good start to his rookie year last year where he had a handful of sacks, but he was a part of a cog. He's part of a group. The interior defensive line, like it's not all Aaron Donald where it's like, oh, this guy, he plays, multiple positions on the line, but he's interior defensive lineman. Like you look at corner, you look at edge rusher where you can actually have like measurables. So you look at the guys like, Latu, Dallas Turner,
Dallas
Quinyon
Turner would be
Mitchell.
my non-home cooking pick. I like Dallas Turner a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, and they just breed pass rushers in Minnesota. That's just what they do. That was the steal defensively of the first round with Minnesota moving up. Like people are saying he wasn't going to get past Atlanta, and he goes into the mid-teens, and he's not even it was wild that Indy took Latu over him coming off the neck injury, retiring, and all that stuff. So I would probably take Dallas Turner as like a safe pick. But Byron Murphy, it wouldn't surprise me in Seattle. It's like that's what they do. They have defensive linemen. They have guys that wreak havoc all across the defensive line. Just what they do there. But I will take Dallas Turner. I'll be lazy and take Dallas Turner with this one.
No, I like Dallas Turner, and I'm trying to show love and make amends. You know what I mean? But
for sure.
Right. But I do think Dallas Turner is a great choice there. But that's our predictions. If you're watching on YouTube, let us know your predictions down below in the chat. Hit us up at Tic Tac Titans on Twitter, at Clancy's Corner _ on Twitter, and let us know your predictions for the season. But that's going to do it for today's Thursday edition of the Locked On NFL podcast. As I tell you guys every week, start your weekend early and stay safe out there.